So I need to kick this video off for you with a little bit of explanation. We needed to go to the Georgia coast to conduct bat house workshops. This is, I think, around May of 2019, so don't get too upset about the lack of pandemic protocols going on. And in order to go, we needed to take about 30 bat house kits. We conduct bat house workshops at various locations, state parks usually. And my wife, Cecilia, she actually wanted to take the motorcycles. And I was saying, no, we need to take the truck. We need to take about 30 bat house kits with us. And that's going to weigh around 300 pounds, actually. So she decided, she found a little trailer, a little Bushtec, and that I was going to make a hitch, because she had seen these before, and put it on her Ural CT so that she could tow the trailer down to the Georgia coast. So first I'll show you making the hitch. Won't be too long, just some of the details, welding it together, and then a little bit of our trip down there. We actually got on I-16, which is not a very busy interstate. Basically it takes you to Savannah, and that's pretty much it. And I followed her for a while, so I'll share some of that video. And then toward the end of the video, last part, I'll show you some of our adventures that we had while we were out on the coast with the motorcycles. I have to say it was a great trip. We learned a lot, and here it is. Now I'm using 3/16 inch wall steel square pipe. It's what I had. I could probably get by with lesser thickness, but yeah, it's what I had, so I'm good. This will actually mount up here like that. I'm going to weld it in place. That gets my height just about right. May be different on the M70, but for this, does it just about right. And then I'll put a extra plate on the side to close this off and reinforce this weld over here when I weld that on. I put a 22.5 degree turn on it, and I'm going to double check the alignment with a protractor real quick, but I've done my bevels so that I can fill them with weld. And this, I guess the flat part down here, what's that called, a root? The root of the weld here is about 1/16 of an inch I left flat, so I'm going to start welding deep in the valley, fill it, then come back and probably do 2 more quick passes with a MIG welder to make sure this is welded all the way through and not just a surface weld. Now what's curious here, you may be wondering, is I cut this down to the bottom. The bottom's whole, it's not cut all the way through. And I ground it out, and I did that because my wife's rig, when I put it all together, it has about a 4 degree upward angle on the sidecar. Now I probably could level that, but it's fine, and I'll just leave it that way. It's good. I don't want to risk just causing myself more problems by changing the way that the thing works. But I'm going to take this to the press, and I believe I've got my gap about right. If I close this top gap down, then I should have about a 4 degree bend here, which is what I'm after, and then I can just fill this back in with weld and go from there. So that should be good, and I ground that in pretty good way, so I'm going to have to fill. And once I bend it, if it's not enough, I can just take the cutting wheel and cut it again and then bend it a little more. So that should be fine. Now I put an angle on the front of this thing. This will be in the front facing forward, so I'm going to put a protective plate on that. I just wanted to do that so I didn't create a snag. If I were to hit something going forward, it's going to want to go up on it rather than grab it. But that's what I'm doing. And I don't mind showing you my welds. I don't think I'm the best welder in the world, but this is a factory weld here on the receiver that I bought. Yeah, I don't think they look too bad. All I've done is wire brushed them at this point. I know they're not perfect, but they have good penetration. I set the voltage to 4 out of 5. I've got the wire feed speed, I think, set to about 40 here. Yeah, I got this Hobart welder. It's a 110 volt MIG welder. I've got the gas up there. It works good. I use it generally to make bat house brackets, but I do other projects with it as well. All right, I'm pretty proud of that. That's the first pass. This weld will only get uglier from here. That's why I'm showing it to you now. As I build up over it, I'm going to have to go fast. But it filled everything up. The pool was molten. You can see where it heated the metal. I'm confident that's bonded. I will just need to build it up a little more so when I grind it, that it grinds down smooth with the surface instead of a little below. Well, there you have it. Not the best welds in the world, but they seem pretty good. Got a few very tiny voids in here, just nothing, you know, enough it wouldn't, you know, get an A. But I spent about 30 minutes grinding, which was longer than I probably needed to, because I went back and I built this up to a huge fillet. I did that because I discovered I did this fillet back here. I couldn't get in there to weld or to grind with the rounded wheel that I have. I couldn't get deep enough. It was cutting above and below before it would grind. So I came back and I filled this up a lot, a huge fillet in here, probably 6-7 passes, and then ground it down. That worked really well. This worked well. I've got my 4-degree turnout. Actually, show it to you here. When it's on the bike, and I did take it in and fit it to the bike to make sure that made this level. Again, not necessary, but I figured, hey, while I'm doing it, may as well. And I don't even know. I don't know. I went ahead and ground that flat so I could put a plate on here. I'll back up so you can see. I was going to just cut a little plate and put on here, and you know, then I was going to put a plate up here. But at this point, I don't know. I may. Means I'm going to have to break out the plasma cutter to do that. I don't have any small plates that will just fit. And there's a rainstorm moving in right now. It's sunny, rainy, coming and going. So being outside, I got to clean up and put everything up for now. And there's the finished product. I'm actually quite happy with it. Didn't put a plate on it or anything. Just cleaned it up, painted it, and mounted it to the bike using U-clamps. And they've worked great. Saw no reason to change them, so that's how it's still mounted. Here it is installed on the CT. You can see it fits up underneath the sidecar frame pretty well. It clears both my small rotopacks and the 3-gallon one, so that's not an issue. And you can see how I plumbed the power for the brake lights there. I used U-bolts, and I did make a custom bracket, if you can see it right down there. That is a custom bracket piece for the other side. It's just a flat piece with 2 ears welded onto each side, and I left the ears, you can see the upright right there, and it's the right width to fit over the bar, so that helps keep it from rolling or getting out of level. And that worked well. You can see back here, the hitch actually came with the trailer. See how it turns it and centers it up. I opted to center it on the back of the rig instead of letting it come straight out here. It's over there to kind of center the trailer, and it works well. So here's some footage of her towing the trailer behind the CT. Now, the trailer weighs, I think we figured about 120 pounds, maybe not quite. Very lightweight trailer. And in this particular instance, we have roughly 350 pounds in it. I weighed everything, added it up, and it was 340 something pounds. And we discovered that while it will do it, that is a bit much. Now, it wasn't unmanageable, obviously. We took it all the way to Savannah before we had our first workshop, which would unload roughly 100 pounds from it just for the first workshop. And again, the bike did well. It was just a little more sluggish, and it stopped okay. But my wife was saying she wasn't completely happy with the way that it performed. With the full 300 to 350 pounds loaded in it. Now, once we hosted that first workshop and we dropped 100 pounds out of it, she said it handled completely differently. It was fantastic from that point forward, and it did extremely well. Now, the way that we balanced it is we put between 15 to 20 pounds on the tongue. Actually bought a small luggage scale, a decent digital one. And when I hook it on the back of the motorcycle, I put that scale on it and I lift until it lifts it off the hitch and read the weight. And we positioned everything carefully and packed around it with some of our luggage, things that we had. Our motorcycle covers actually did real well. They're fairly light and are bulky. And we used that as packing material so things didn't shift around while we were riding. That did very well and kept things in check without moving. You wouldn't want to stop or take off and the load shift forward or backwards, especially not backwards. It's going to start trying to lift the back of the bike and bounce. And, well, you really don't want it to go forward either, because that's going to make the front end of the bike lighter. But what we did worked really well. And once we got that 100 pounds or so out of it, we've since decided that about a 250 pound payload is the comfort zone with this. So trailer and everything, we're looking at not over 300 to 350 pounds. Now, to this day, she's still using the little trailer. She pulls it out. It's sitting out here next to the driveway under a cover, and she goes grocery shopping with it. She uses it for the bulkier items like toilet paper and paper towels, bread, anything that's kind of lightweight and takes up more bulk. She'll pack it in the trailer and put the rest in the sidecar, and that's how she does her shopping trips. We've also run to the stores with it to get things, and if we need to, we can pull it out to take trash to the dump, whatever the situation may be. It fits great in the little trailer. Now, the only issue that we have had with the trailer itself is, and you'll see this when we pull up to a stop sign, which we'll eventually do here, the lights on it are not very bright, and I've taken them out. I've tried LEDs. The lenses apparently are not made anymore. This is an older trailer. I've tried to contact Bushtec and email Bushtec at least a half a dozen times with zero response from them. They won't answer, won't call back, and won't reply to emails. So I don't know if I can buy those lenses somewhere else or not. It looks like they're just old, and they have a purple haze to them, and I can't figure it out if the previous owner put something on them or if they've just aged that way, because this trailer did have a custom paint job on it, and as beautiful as it was with all the skulls and crossbones, I just put a gray overpaint on it to get rid of that. Not our style. But I do need to figure out some way to get the brake lights and the running lights to show brighter on the back of it. If you look close, you can see they're on. They work. The brake lights come on. They're just very, very dim because of the lenses that are over them. Now, keep in mind, she's leading here. I'm following her, and here we are on 441 near Dublin, Georgia. We're going to be getting on Interstate 16 to head towards Savannah soon, and here she pulls out and starts passing a truck. So it can't be too bad. So here we are just before we meet Interstate 16. Thought I'd give you a look as we pull in for fuel. She's going to be turning. You'll kind of get a side view and see how the trailer is doing. The hitch worked great. The trailer worked great. We had no trouble with anything the entire time. And ultimately, it was just a fantastic trip. And a little footage to prove that we actually did get on Interstate 16. And you can see we're traveling just over 60 miles an hour. We stayed between 60 to 65, honestly closer to 60. And she kept up just fine, followed me right on down all the way to Savannah. I know the next question I'm going to get is, isn't that going to blow up the final drive? Well, this is May of 2019, what you're watching. We made this trip. We've made 2 other long trips with the trailer. We've been using it here locally. Final drive in the CT, other than normal maintenance, has been doing fine so far. This was a week-long trip. We encountered rain, sunshine, weather all over the place. We did Bat House workshops as Habitat for Bats at Skidaway Island State Park. Then we went over to McAllister State Park, conducted another Habitat for Bats Bat House building workshop. And while we were there, of course, we had to run over and see Tybee Island. But my favorite by far was Wormslow. If you go to Savannah, Georgia, you must stop and see Wormslow. It is the most beautiful state park that I've ever been in. From there, we went on to St. Mary's and over to see the submarine base. Well, we're in St. Mary's, Georgia, and one thing we've been challenged on this trip when we get out toward the coast is parking. Parking has just been an aggravation. We tried to go into Tybee Island, you try to go into Jekyll Island, anywhere you go, they're wanting $2 an hour to park, and if you're over by 5 minutes, they'll come tow your rear end right out of there, and it just, you know, I don't enjoy it when it's a struggle to go park or find somewhere to sit. So we came on down to St. Mary's, and they have kind of a different issue going on here. They have plenty of large parking spaces, and they've got free parking here. I mean, it's a huge contrast, but the only difficulty I'm having here is parking is limited to 36 hours. Now, I don't know what I can find to do for 36 hours in St. Mary. Well, we didn't spend the full 36 hours, but we did take the trip over to Cumberland Island, which is off the coast of Georgia. It is pretty much a closed island area. And I didn't get a lot of footage because my camera, well, I didn't charge it and it died. But they have wild horses running around. Don't feed them, don't touch them, don't approach them. They are wild. And we went to the Dungeness ruins. But the crabs were the highlight for my visit. This just reminds me of a horror movie. And it took me a little while to figure out which one. Thousands of the little boogers. It reminds me of the movie Red Planet with the rogue military robot dog and the nematodes that they discovered on Mars, which are small bugs that run around and look like this, but they produce oxygen and they eat people. So, yeah, glad we weren't in that. Next, we went to Crooked River State Park, where we did 2 more bat house workshops, and we shipped those kits in. We actually did not haul them with us. Oh, too far up. You're still good. No. It didn't go too far. One!
Oh, goodness.
Yay! All right, 1. Oh, that was fun. Got a hole in 1 on the last hole, number 18. You're hiding your putt-putt skills?
No, I'm putting it on Facebook, man. Are you kidding me? Hole in 1 on the last.
It's always funny when you see a couple walk up for a UDF, because most of the time it's the guy that is very interested in looking everything over. And you can see the excitement in his face and in his eyes, and he looks at his significant other with this big grin on his face, and the look on her face is like, don't even think it. And you can see that moment where he's going, hey, we could get something like this. This would be good. You could ride. Ain't happening. And you can just see in his face the disappointment. It's like, oh, well. But it's just, it's funny. I never get tired of watching it, whether we're out like this or sitting in a restaurant looking out the window. It's just funny to see the different reactions that people have. It's like that one guy at the Krispy Kreme that liked the color of your bike. And he's just all excited about it. And that's his favorite color. So
Now he's going to have to get one because it was his favorite color.
And that's about the end of it. From there, we wrapped up, headed back over to the hotel, left out the next morning early, and made our way back home. And we went straight through Middle Georgia on the way back, no interstates all the way. And overall, it was a great trip. That pretty much concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really mean that. I mean, this video right here, I've got about 7 hours in. It's late at night. I'm sitting here trying to finish it up, so I hope someone is enjoying them. If you do, please click the like button, leave a comment, even if you leave a comment and say, woolly boogers or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just leave a comment, because that gets the YouTube algorithm to kind of treat the video more favorably and let more people who might be interested know about it. I would really appreciate that. Yeah, I've just got a little bit of footage from my wife's riding perspective here. We're headed out. We're actually going to come back through Georgia diagonally from the coast, come all the way up. I think we went through Baxley, Georgia, and just went all the way up through Dublin, and then came on up to home here in Jackson, Georgia. But we had a great time. The trailer did really well. I have to say that it towed well. She enjoyed towing it. And we have since been on several more trips where we have towed the trailer. And she, like I said, uses it around town to go to the grocery store. Remember, be safe out there, enjoy the ride, and if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below.